Welcome back to the channel. You see the information on the screen, so you already know what I'm about. So let's get into it. So today we have the absolute wonderful Brandy Yates on. She is definitely a dating coach, life coach. But one of the things I thought was very interesting, she is an accountability coach. Now, I already know some women, might be wanting to run for the hills because she literally told me in secret, in private, she didn't think I was going to tell the whole world, that she's a woman's accountability coach. I'm going to let her explain a little bit more about who she is and what she's about. And then, as you all know, we're going to get into it. So, yes, Brandy, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay, so I do consider myself a human empowerment brand, not a woman's empowerment brand, just because I'm a woman. I do not like the gender wars that I'm constantly seeing. I do like the order that God created from the original design. So I try to get us to the point of realizing that we need each other. You know what I mean? And we can only realize that through a mindset change and accountability. And so I am a life coach, but I focus on mindset change and I focus on accountability. It just so happens, even though I hold everybody accountable, it just so happens that I get more traction, more friction back from the women when it comes to accountability.
What is like the number one thing that you feel like women don't want to take accountability for? I know everybody wants to know that answer.
Um, I honestly don't think it's just one thing. I think people in general have a hard time with accountability. But when it relates to women, for some reason, I don't know when this happened. I don't know if it started with the feminist movement. I don't know when it started with us getting more rights, with us getting more, working more, making more money. I have no idea where it started, but I feel like women have this hard time of allowing themselves to be told when they're wrong. You know, I feel like we have a really hard time accepting that, hey, you don't know it all. And the way you operate, the way you think, the way you want things is really not as great as you think it is. And so I think we have a real hard time accepting that and then adjusting to that.
Okay, I like that. Now, here's one thing I thought was really interesting. I actually saw an IG post where this one lady admitted that her man generally was right, but she just didn't like his tone in the way that he would say it. So, do you think that could be something going on where maybe men were not saying it in the way that women can receive it?
No. I do see a lot of people say that. I'm just a little blunt, it's probably why a lot of people have issue, a lot of women have an issue with me. So what I'm going to say is everything is case by case, right? I think we have an issue with understanding that just because something works for somebody else doesn't mean it's going to work for you. And I think we have a hard time being okay with that. I think we try to make everything fit our narrative. So with what you're saying, yes, I do believe, depending on the situation, depending on the respect level, the boundaries, depending on like, where you guys like, if you're my man or brother, daddy, something like that, I would say, okay, maybe tone, a percentage of that could be tone. However, again, as an accountability coach, I need us to focus on what's being said
Hmm.
more than how it's being said. I think a lot of times when we talk about, oh, it's just the tone, again, I think that's a lack of accountability. Because yes, I could tell you like, hey, calm down, don't yell at me, but I still can receive what you're saying and tell you that you're right. I don't have to fully dismiss it because I don't like the tone. And I feel like that's what's going on. I feel like because people are saying they don't like the tone, you're fully dismissing it. Well, you don't get the right to dismiss it because you don't like the tone.
Okay, I love that. So here's the thing. Do you think that the women who would have the hardest time with that are the women that may or may not have had a good relationship with their dad?
Mm, no, not in the higher percentage that I think people try to make it. Because I've seen, me personally, I've seen plenty of women bragging on their dad, right? Because they're telling the
Mhm.
man, well, my daddy did X, Y, and Z, so I ain't accepting less than that. But those are the main ones who lack accountability. Those are the main
Mm.
ones who can't receive correction or direction from a man. Those are the main ones, who give
Mhm.
off a lot more masculine traits. So I don't necessarily, I know we throw around mommy issues and daddy issues a lot.
Mhm.
That's something I'm still kind of, researching, because I think it's become a what they call, I think it's become a trend to say that now, you
Mhm.
know. So it's like, I don't think the absence of a father it plays that much into that. Personally, I
Well,
don't. I don't think so.
let's say it in reverse because I've noticed this as well. There's some fathers that want literally the world for their daughters.
Okay. Mhm.
And they are basically telling their daughters, girl, you know, this is what you deserve. Don't let no man ever do less than this, blah, blah,
Mhm.
blah. So, do you think that there are fathers that are creating this desire within the daughter to just have these expectations that are just way out here to the point where it's like, if you're not like my daddy, then you ain't worth nothing?
Yep, I do. I do. I was watching a podcast before where there were actually men on there admitting, like, you know what? When we look back at it, as men, we have to realize we also are creating monsters, because you're
Mm-hmm.
creating daughters that don't think that they have to work for anything. You're creating daughters that think that just because I'm a woman, I'm supposed to receive any and everything that I want to receive. And they were like, as fathers, we have to figure out how to not to put that thought process into our daughters, that, hey, it's more about you than it is about him. No, it's about both of y'all. So you have to be the type of woman that man also needs for him to want to give you the world, so to speak.
Okay, I like that. I like that. So with that, because we got the accountability part. So I saw, some other videos that you had out there, and like one of them, kind of dealt with a little bit with femininity. And so, yes, we have this whole thing with accountability, but then we also have this concept of femininity. So, first of all, I guess that should be a question. Do you think the lack of, so to speak, of what people are saying is feminine? Do you think that is playing a big role in the problems that we're seeing or the issues that we have in the gender war?
Feminine doesn't mean just sit. Feminine doesn't mean just be taken care of. Feminine doesn't mean only take care of the kids. Feminine doesn't mean only cook. It's an energy.
Mhm.
It's not necessarily the work of what you need to do to provide for your family or be of an
Mhm.
asset. Let's say it like that.
Okay.
Um, and I think we've thrown around those feminine and masculine too much to where the lines are blurred. And I see her
Mhm.
as a woman who's doing what's needed for the family. She's not,
Mhm.
she's not selfish. And when I say family, I'm meaning man and kids. Because I
Mhm.
think today's world, I think we have, because of the rights we have, I think we've gotten to the point where now it's only about us and the kids. We don't understand how to include our man in that. And so I feel
Mhm.
like we segregate that. We're like, oh no, well, he's the provider. So that means he
Mhm.
has to provide for me and the kids, but I only have to provide for the kids. And that's not how that works.
Mhm.
I have to only provide for myself and the kid. That's not how that works if you want to be in a healthy family, in a relationship. You both need to be in sync with each other, and the family needs to be the center, despite,
Mhm.
you feel like, oh, well, I don't, I think I did a video before with somebody, and I was saying, we're doing things like saying men are providers when they're not giving us the Birkin bag that we want. Well, that ain't all what provision is. He
Mhm.
brings order. That means there may be more times that he have to tell you no than he have to tell you yes.
Mhm.
And then I feel like that's when the masculine come in, where, well, I don't need you, I can do it for myself. Oh, okay.
Why you saying that? What do you feel about the traditional marriage? What people are saying now, which i.e. means the woman is more of a stay-at-home mom. She takes care of the kids. The man goes to do the work.
Mhm.
he's doing 90% to 100% of the work, and on the outside bringing the money in type of deal. How do you feel about that? Because I think that's where a lot of people are saying masculine and feminine,
Mhm.
as well. In the gender war. That's why we had this gender war. And like one of the things I'm always saying is we always have to define the word,
Mhm.
because what means, just like what me and you were just going through, what means something on one channel means something totally different on another channel. And
Mhm.
so it's kind of like, even when people say traditional marriage, okay, what does that mean? You have men right now
Exactly.
that are saying, well, I want a traditional woman, I want a traditional woman. But then people are coming back, but like, dude, you don't make enough money for a traditional woman. You can't even, take care of the bills. If you want a traditional woman, that means she is basically sitting at home, taking care of the kids, cleaning the house, cooking, the meals.
Mhm.
But you know, how, and then they'll say, "Well, I want her to work too," and it's like, okay, well, do you really want a traditional woman?
Mhm.
So, with using the term of staying at home, cleaning up, all that kind of stuff. How do you feel about, or what have you run into? I should say more about that. Like, what have you run into the issues with people talking and discussing about the traditional, relationship?
I think when we continue to compare traditional to now, I think we are pushing away from the fact that everything has changed in society.
Mhm.
So monetary value has changed. The how much the way people are offering men jobs have changed. The economy have changed. Price everything is going up. So even women have changed. Like the women these days you see with all the wigs, the nails, the makeup, the shopping, the name brands. You see all of that, but the traditional woman didn't have that stuff. So she was affordable. So I push that argument. If you want to go traditional, then you have to go traditional on both ends, which means the women will have to really be traditional. And it's not just with, cooking, cleaning, taking care of the kids,
Mhm.
homeschooling, that's a part of tradition. And then a lot of the material stuff that we have, traditional women didn't have that. So are you willing to give that up? Because if you're willing to give up those type of things, then yes, maybe the man can afford all the bills. But if you want him to fund your lifestyle, your expensive lifestyle, and the kids and the house, we're just not in that economy these days. Really sit down and ask yourself, is this really what I want? And what
Mhm.
do I have to do to obtain that? If you really want a traditional lifestyle, you got to sit with yourself and see what is it that I need to cut out or that I need to add in so that I really can have a successful traditional relationship.
Okay. Well, one of the things that you brought up, I like what you said, but one of the things that you brought up a couple of times in a couple of your answers is lifestyle. So, do you think one of the major problems is that a lot of women are desiring an expensive lifestyle? They're desiring all of these things that they can see with their eyes more so than they're desiring the actual relationship that they can actually have with other human beings, i.e., their man.
I do. I do. Not all women, obviously. Let's put that. I don't like giving disclaimers. I really don't. I feel like when you tap into certain conversations, you got to come bringing up some maturity to understand that just because something is being said does not mean you're included in that. You're not included in it until you include yourself. So I really don't like giving disclaimers, but for the sake of now, I'll just say not all women. I think there are some women who understand, like, hey, that lifestyle does not matter. I'll have to sacrifice that lifestyle momentarily to get the healthy relationship, that I need to build with my man. But I do feel like there are way more women that are more focused on the materialistic things of the lifestyle than actually the work that they need to put in to have the relationship that they claim to want.